music.
Welcome back. We are back live again, and I am joined. I'm honored, honestly, blessed and honored to have the one and only, the legend, the GOAT, Mr. John Eads of WAFB. John, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I cannot tell you how excited I am, and again, how honored I am to have you here on my podcast, man. Thank you for being here tonight.
Pleasure's all mine. Appreciate the invite. Excited to learn more about you and be on your show here, man. This is awesome.
So. Absolutely, man. So I've come to learn that you're not from Louisiana. You're from Michigan, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So how does a Michigan man end up in the deep South?
Luck, to be honest, in a lot of different ways. I hadn't been down here before and don't have any family down here. Maybe some distant relatives or something like that. Haven't gotten the full story still, but visited in like May of 2023. It came to a midweek game. Actually, LSU was playing McNeese. I think they won that game, but people were grumbling about the bullpen. I do remember that. Some things don't change. You know? And then not long after that, LSU was finishing up beating Florida for the Natty in 23. I signed the contract, been down here ever since. The way I got the job is I put together a little cut up of some work I did from college, but it wasn't sports related. It was, more hard news related, like, things like that, which I'm not particularly interested in, but, you kind of got to take whatever you can get coming out of college to start your career. And our news director does the hiring, happened to be on YouTube just looking up stuff, and he came across my video. I don't know how, and he got my email, and it was off and running from there pretty much.
Man, that's amazing. So how have you been able to adjust to Louisiana living? Looks like you're taking it on head on.
Yeah.
Man, so.
Well, I mean, just diving in, honestly, head first. And that's just something I've always done. I feel like it's easy to get consumed with the changes, and stuff like that. But I find it's better to just embrace it and, shake as many hands as possible, meet as many people as possible, and just do the best you can, to spread the love and what you do and what you're about. And before you know it, 3 years will go by. But if you do that every single day, it's going to feel like 30, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So many places and met so many people. So, it feels like I've been here a lot longer than it actually has been. But that's just because there's so many things to do and people to meet and stuff. And, man, these seasons, they're like a whole lifetime in themselves. Like the 2025 baseball season felt like a whole lifetime.
I cannot believe we're only, we're only here, and it's April. Like the 2025 season felt like it was so long ago at this point.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing. It was such a ride. Mm-hmm. So I do want to ask you this: what was your reaction to the heat and humidity your first summer here?
Well, I'm still not used to it. I was very against wearing like golf shorts, like khaki shorts to work and stuff. And quickly learned that is not going to work down here. My body is just not built for this heat, man. It's just not. Because growing up, it's snow, it's cold, and you could get away with wearing a T-shirt and shorts pretty much any day, not in the winter, obviously. You could get away with wearing sweatpants pretty much any day where I'm from and that kind of thing because it doesn't get that hot. But down here, you can. Like, I walked to the grocery store. It's like a stone's throw away from where I live to get some more trash bags earlier, and I wore this pullover. And by the time I got back, it was like a 2-minute walk. So it's like I had just run a mile or something. So I have a farmer stand year round. I refuse to wear sunscreen, though I probably should. And if I wore it like I needed to, I'd probably have to reapply it every single hour. So still getting used to that. I don't know if I'll ever get used to it, honestly.
Man, look, I know Lane, when he was introduced, he said that the place is just different. He hasn't learned just how different it is yet. Yeah. Once that summer workout comes in August, he's gonna learn just how different it is then. And that's gonna be a real real baptismal by fire. So, what have your first impressions been of Lane Kiffin and his adjustment to Baton Rouge since he's been here these last now, what, 6 months? Not even 6 months, 4 months.
Yeah. Well, he and I are completely different people, and he is, this big celebrity and all this. But I feel like we've kind of attacked it similarly, like just
Right.
diving right in and embracing it. Like he's getting the most out of every day. It seems like he's up early. He's at the facility late at night. He's hitting the road to go visit the high schools and meet the coaches and stuff. And he's kind of changed how he's approached things with the media too. He's given the media more access than he gave them in Mississippi and stuff like that. And a lot of back and forth with people in the media and fans and stuff like that. He's at the parades. So we haven't even played a game yet here. And he's already, I feel like, done a great job of being out in the community. Someone that's like approachable or someone that seems accessible, to everybody, which is kind of a good change of pace, I feel like, from the last regime. The last regime, it was kind of buttoned up, business-like, which, can be successful too. But I think Lane's done a really good job of, he knows people are really excited about this and the direction it's headed. And he's not kind of shying away from that or kind of letting that excitement fester until kickoff game one. He's really continuing to boost that every day, it seems like, with just the subtle jabs at people and the jokes and the daily posts and stuff. And so it's been exciting. And then as far as the football itself, it's hard to tell, because the quarterback they invested so much money in hasn't really been able to do much yet. But I like the skill position talent they got and what they did in the portal and stuff and how they're handling the high school recruiting, and then understanding who was important to keep too.
Yes.
I'm not sure how good they'll be their first year. I know they'll be good. I don't know if they'll be elite, but I like where they're at this point, kind of a year zero.
Have you been able to what's going on, lineup? I appreciate you being here, man. Got Unc in the chat, Fonzarelli in the chat. Uncle Randy says, praying that you don't leave Baton Rouge because you're an absolute treasure.
Thanks,
And
Randy.
I completely agree with that. So don't ever leave us. You're an adoptive son. Okay, you're an adoptive son in Louisiana now, so you can't go. So have you been able to make it out to any of the practices yet? I mean, I know you're busy. Mm-hmm. And so what's been the one position group that stood out to you the most so far throughout spring?
Yeah, I try to hit all of them. I missed one, but it was because I was in Oxford with the baseball team. So that otherwise would have been there. But I got to go this past Saturday, see the full practice Tuesday. We get to shoot video too for the news, and that's important to have some video storage. So that's why I really try to go, is to get some of that video. Position group that stood out to me the most. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go with this. I'd probably say the running backs, though, because they brought back Harlan Berry and Caden Durham, but Dylan Jones is the guy that's emerged as the starter, So it's kind of crazy to think about a running back room that has the proven production and talent that Durham and Berry are, but then also Jones, who's looked really good as well. I mean, they're pretty stacked up there. I don't think it's going to be a bell cow type situation.
I'm going to put my hand up here, John. I know I'm a little small known podcast, so my voice wasn't really being out there. But the moment that we signed Dylan Jones, I legitimately threw my hands high up in the sky and said, watch out for this kid.
Okay.
Because when you look at the Wisconsin offense from last year, they were terrible.
Yeah.
They had no offensive production from the quarterback position at all. So people were able to stack the box, and that kid still made plays happen.
Yeah.
So you put him in an offensive system where they're going to spread it, but the run is going to be the primary focus, and you put an offensive line around him, skill positions that's going to force defenses to pay attention to them, and a quarterback as dynamic as Sam Levitt, and a coach as creative and just audaciously rude as Lane Kiffin is when it comes to calling plays, that kid's going to be something.
Yeah.
And every time somebody mentions the name Dylan Jones, my eyes perk up. My heart flutters a little bit because it's like, I said this. I called it. So I'm glad that you're saying that. How have the quarterbacks looked to you in person? I know Sam Levitt's not out there now since he got the screws removed from his foot. But I've always been the type of person that said, like when I look at this college football system now, I look at it more like the pros. We didn't need Drew Brees in OTAs. We don't need you don't need Lamar Jackson in April and May. You need him in June, July, and August. That's when you're getting Sam Levitt back. And I know a lot of people, well, it's a new offensive system, it's a new coach, new receivers. Yeah, it's like that in the pros every year. Nobody says anything. Why does it mean anything now? So what I'm concerned about is the guys who have to replace him in an emergency situation. That's who really needs the reps anyway. Because if something were to happen, you want those guys to be able to get the rhythm to develop. How are they looking to you right now?
Well, the one practice I missed was the one where they threw the 5 interceptions or whatever. But I thought they looked good this past weekend. Longstreet did a good job of keeping plays alive, keeping his feet moving in the pocket to keep plays alive and finding some players downfield and scanning the progressions and stuff. He had some really impressive throws over the middle of the field, a fade route to Winnie Watkins, a jump ball to Jackson Harris. And there were a couple times his stats are big and gaudy, and you like that. But there were a couple plays where the defensive line was like right there to make a sack. Mm-hmm. And in a game, probably would have made the sack, but since they're not hitting the quarterbacks, they didn't. So there are a few plays that got to play out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, that boosted the stats up and whatnot. But they didn't make any mistakes. They didn't throw any interceptions. The only kid that threw an interception was third-string quarterback, and that was the only one all day. So I think that's the one thing, especially for Landon Clark, you know, adjusting from Elon to LSU and the SEC.
That's a jump.
You know, I mean, the play is quicker. Your decisions have to be quicker. And even Longstreet, too, a couple weeks ago, I mean, they were doing their opening period of practice. He kind of just threw a ball up to tie.
Snatch
you know, for no reason. Really, I mean, if you do that in practice, you're going to do that in the game. So it's kind of working on those good habits, you know. So I thought he looked good. They both bring the dual threat element to the game in a big way. Like if they get out in space, like they can really do some damage. They don't run like quarterbacks. They are very quick.
That's beautiful.
They're elusive. They can break tackles. Landon Clark had a really impressive play where he stepped up in the pocket, rolled right, kind of sidearm delivered it to Phillip Wright in the back of the end zone. It was a short pitch and catch, but it was still an impressive play of extending a play and then Wright making the catch in the back of the end zone. So Clark's really good at kind of reading the defensive line, finding those openings, and then using his feet to make something happen. He's got to bring the passing game along a little more, I think. Longstreet, though, I thought looked really good this past week. So want to see more. I think the offensive line's done a better job since they've mixed and matched a little bit. Maybe that's because the D-line has had some injuries and stuff. But
okay.
They're coming along. I think they'll have balance, too. You know, like I feel like the run can set up the pass the same way the pass can set up the run. So
that's beautiful. And I'm glad that you brought up the offensive line because Fonz asked to #Ask McSteamy, how do you compare this year's offensive line to last year's O-line, at least the way that they look at practice thus far?
Well, they look the part just like they did last year. It just comes down to how they execute what they're doing. You know, like last year's offensive line, you look at it on paper, looks like an SEC offensive line, you know, but obviously just didn't really play that way. I think the pass protection's been really good. They've done a good job holding up there for the most part. There's some times where the edges collapse and stuff and guys just make things happen, but especially play action. That's been impressive to me is a lot of the big plays they're hitting on play action, you know, where they're faking and it's extended periods of time where the offensive line is having to hold blocks and stuff. And granted, I don't know if the defense is blitzing a lot in spring just to prevent injuries and stuff and work on coverages, but they've done a good job holding up and allowing these receivers to find open space, especially over the middle of the field. That's where they're really attacking. They were attacking on Saturday. It was over the middle of the field, guys making catches, using their athleticism to get by the safeties and scoring some long touchdowns. So I think they look good. They're also opening up some good lanes for the running game too. You know, like there's been some plays where it's touch football, but guys aren't being touched until they're 10 yards, 15 yards up the field, you know? So, so far so good, I think. And they're mixing and matching and trying to find the best 5. Long way to go before that, but I like what they're doing there.
That's beautiful to hear. That's great to hear. My guy Brian in the chat says, I'm not sure if y'all saw, but ESPN is high on the LSU defensive line, especially the defensive tackle room. He also followed up by saying, I'm not going to be too high on the D-line, though. Last time we got blown out by Florida. I'm going to be high on this D-line, Now, what concerns me though is the depth. Are you seeing that high end promise, but looking at the backups, like do we have depth to get what we need to accomplish accomplished?
Need to see more on that front, I think. Maybe in the D tackle room. I like what I've seen from the edges, though. I mean, they lost Gabe Relaford, and that's a bummer. So somebody else is having to step up, in his place. But I feel like everybody they've kind of rolled out there from a defensive end standpoint and stuff has done a good. Like Dylan Carpenter was making things happen. Um, Damian Shanklin's a guy that I've been high on for a couple of years. He was getting some pressures. Prince Will Umamielen obviously has been a consistent, steady presence there. So the DNs, I wrote down quite a bit over the weekend. A lot of different guys that were collapsing the pocket, getting to the quarterback, especially Dylan Carpenter, man. He's a guy that maybe not a lot of people know about. He's been a depth piece for a few years, but I think he's really starting to turn it on. He had a really good day, I thought. Didn't really record any big stats, but he had a lot of pressures. Like he forced the quarterbacks out.
That's key.
That's important. Yeah.
That's key. And I think that's something that was a dynamic that we were missing a lot last year from that edge. Like even the ability to force the quarterback to just be uncomfortable in the pocket and move up to create more of a sack. My guy Paul in the chat says, "Easy, I'm gonna need you at the end of the season, buddy. Just FYI, don't close your DMs. Don't forget us guys who are still unaffiliated.
DMs are always open.
There you go, Paul. DMs are always open, my guy." Paul says, "Oh yeah. No, she's my wife is in the kitchen preparing dinner, so she's throwing stuff at me. So and they're talking about my son. My son played at Edna Carr last year. Yeah, so I got to see Richard Anderson for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
The kid's phenomenal. He's special, legitimately special. What has been your impressions of him and Deuce Gerald's, the impact that they've had early on this season, especially being 18-year-old kids, and coming in and consistently dominating the way that they have been?
These are guys that were a priority for the new staff. Like sometimes you'll see a new coaching staff come in and it's like, some of the recruits we're inheriting here don't really love it, but these are guys that, we're thinking about maybe going somewhere else, but LSU really pressed the issue and upped the ante to make sure they kept them. And Richard's been getting some looks with the twos and stuff, and I feel like he's making the most of those opportunities. I want to see some more. Still, it's kind of hard to focus on some things specifically because it's LSU against LSU, and you're trying to watch the quarterbacks and the running backs and the corners, and it's a lot at one time.
Right.
But Deuce Gerald's I have seen a lot of. And on Tuesday, instead of watching the 7-on-7 team period, I really wanted to watch the one-on-ones, the D tackles against the centers and the guards and the ends against the tackles and stuff. And, man, Deuce gave Braylon Moore 2 really good reps. And I think Braylon may have won them slightly. But at the end, those two were pushing and shoving each other. Not anything violent or serious, but, it was impressive to see that because Braylon's an experienced guy. He's been in college 4 or 5 years. He's like the leader of the team. And here is Deuce, a freshman who doesn't look like a freshman. And he's showing this guy, like, hey, I know I'm a young guy, but, I'm not afraid to go with you here. I'm not afraid to take reps against you and this and that. And that was impressive. I mean, he has a maturity, a mean streak to him, and obviously the physical tools that don't align with being a freshman. So I expect him to play a lot early, and I see a bright future ahead for him. The staff is really high on him.
That's amazing. That's so beautiful to hear. It's so good to hear. I'm proud of him. Like the kids, fought to get here. LSU's been his dream, and the fact that he's able to come in and make that impression has been good. Who out of that receiver room, not named Winnie Watkins, has been standing out to you?
Pretty much everybody. It's such a deep room, man.
Thank you.
Jackson Harris, I think, needs to be mentioned. He had 3 touchdowns this past weekend. Very big play threat, especially those play action passes. Like that's the guy who's getting the matchup against the safety and frankly burning him. It doesn't matter who it is. Like some of the best DBs on this team who are going to have good seasons, Jackson Harris is still finding a way to get past and get open against. So he's a guy that stood out. Obviously, you mentioned Winnie. I do want to say one thing about Winnie. They do this little one-on-one period on Saturday at practice where the staff will call out 1 wide receiver, 1 DB, and this is it. It's only these guys. They'll do 3 reps and they'll move on to the next period of practice. So Winnie went against PJ Woodland, 3 reps. First rep, beats him inside, doesn't make the catch, but flag for a hold. Second rep, runs about the same route. It's kind of a slant, stop, and then he keeps running.
Right.
Burned him, caught it for a touchdown. And then they run him a fade route to the back pylon. Beautiful ball. I wrote down who threw it. Maybe it was Hassan. Beautiful ball caught by Winnie over Woodland's head. It was an outstanding catch. Perfectly placed ball. Great catch. So Winnie, 3 straight reps, won all 3 of them against PJ Woodland, who's going to be like one of the top corners on this team. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about Winnie. But Jace Brown has had his moments, certainly. Eugene Wilson from Florida has a lot of upside, I think, in raw athleticism. And I could go on and on. Roman Mothershed. I mean, there's so many playmakers in this offense, and that was a pointed approach to have that depth, because you can't just go through the season with 3 or 4 guys. I mean, they're going to get worn down after a while, and that's something Lane has always had is receivers. He can just call out from the back of the bench who are sitting down, not even with their helmet on. They go in and score a 60-yard touchdown.
Yep.
So,
and that's been my entire thing is that iron's going to sharpen iron, and I feel like the defense should have been ahead of the offense. And at this point, to see that the offense is finally starting to catch their stride, and your main guy is not there, right now, it shows right now that you're going to get a lot better by the time game 1 comes. And this is going to be a team that people are not going to want to play in October and November. So just get ready.
And if Sam's not ready, I mean, last year Austin Simmons was Ole Miss's guy, but then this guy named Trinidad Chambliss was just too good to keep off the field after he got an opportunity. So who knows? I mean, maybe Sam just isn't meeting the standard, or his recovery doesn't go well. Well, Hassan and Landon have been getting reps all spring. Like, they'll be ready to go.
3 of the 4 best available quarterbacks in the transfer portal are all at one school. They have 3 letters on their head. They're located at the capital city of Louisiana, and they all share purple and gold as the same colors. I think they're on your team. So can't put it in no other. Like, that's why you went out and got them. That's exactly why. So, and that's one thing, like, Lane Kiffin has shown. Like, he does not care who it is, as long as you do it. Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful thing about it. Let's pivot a little bit to baseball. My guy, ready. What's wrong? Like, how do we fix it?
I don't know if it can be fixed this year. I don't think it's the chef. I think it's some of the ingredients. Not to be disrespectful or anything.
We got some bad onions.
Things just haven't panned out. I mean, it happens. It was a unique situation, kind of like 23 into 24, where you're trying to win a national championship. You get a late jump on the portal. You lose some guys to other schools you probably would have liked. And then you also had a really good recruiting class. The draft, like many years, took a lot of those guys. Maybe some of them. I remember Jay being really upset about the draft, and we did press conferences like last fall and stuff, just kind of ranting about how these guys are getting overpaid, and kind of forced to make a wrong decision. And I think we're starting to see some of why he was so frustrated now, because there are guys in that class that he thinks really would help this team that they didn't have a chance to bring in because they got overslotted or whatever in the draft. But as far as what's happened with the team, I mean, you just haven't got steady, consistent play, obviously, from first base, from second base, really from third base. On top of that, one of your starting pitchers has been out for half the year. Your starting left fielder was out for the first half of the year, and there's no replacing him. Yeah, I mean, there's probably other stuff I'm not even remembering. That's been
the play behind the plate has been inconsistent.
Yes, and those guys have been good for the most part offensively, but defensively, They're not Luis Hernandez. Maybe they're better offensive players than Luis was, but they're not better defensive players. So really the overarching point here is that this year they're just unfortunately not elite at anything. They're not elite defensively. They're not elite from a starting pitching standpoint. The bullpen's coming along. Perhaps they have a chance to be elite by the end of the year. Hopefully it's not too late by then. Offensively, they're not elite. They're just not very good at any – like, what's the identity of this team? What is one thing where when LSU takes the field, they're going to do a good job of? We know that Stephen Milam is going to attract every ground ball and make every single play at shortstop. We know that the outfield will hold it down out there because they're all good players. But But beyond that, I don't know what else to expect. Like, they might score 16 runs one game on a Sunday, but they might also get shut out against a very good starting pitcher the next day. And that's kind of been the issue. Like, people like to draw comparisons to 2024. Well, the difference is you had Tommy White at third base, 2 aces in your starting pitching staff. You're more talented.
Right.
In some places. And you were very good at some things, like starting pitching. This year, they're just not very good at one particular thing, really anything, unfortunately. And so they have really nothing to lean on when they get into these tough games, and that's plagued them all year. I mean, they're safe from nobody. Northeastern, McNeese, Texas A&M. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, there's guys that maybe you expected more from that haven't quite developed to the point you were hoping. And there's been some games where, I knew it in the moment. They lost them. They're going to want this one back because there's mistakes they made that if they don't make them, they win. So it's just been a combination of a lot of stuff.
It's the perfect storm of depression. I went into the season thinking that this team had an embarrassment of riches. At this point, we could just take off the of riches part. It's been an embarrassment. Like, I'm just so sad about it. And like you said, it's just not to be disrespectful. It's just things didn't piece together in the manner that you anticipated to piece together.
Yeah.
And when things like that happen, when you invest heavily in guys out of the portal and you let developing young players leave because you think that you got a veteran player that's coming in that's shown more, and then those young guys go off and they're doing the things that you need the guys that you brought in to do, it just makes you feel like, I went wrong twice. So how do you think the approach will be going forward? Because there's a lot of, a fuss of revenue sharing issues and not having enough NIL funding. And the fan base has literally rallied behind this team.
Shout out to you guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Like 100% has rallied to this team to a point in which now it's drawn a lot of attention to the guys in the front offices. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the approach will be going forward to get Jay Johnson what he needs and for Jay Johnson to go get better talent?
Well, as far as stacking the roster, I think it'll be a combination of both. Like, Jay's now kind of seen it from both sides where he's maybe – I don't know the full story on what happened with some of the freshmen that transferred out that are now succeeding in other places. But perhaps it was something where he didn't think they were ready, and he wanted to bring somebody in as a placeholder that could also, help the team. And those kids maybe wanted to play more now and decided to go somewhere where they could play now. Instead of maybe looking to the portal, he will focus more on development within the program, which he's done a good job of at a lot of different positions already. But maybe at specific positions, he'll focus on that development more so than he has in the past. But he's also still going to go and hunt that game-changing player from the portal, because LSU is not winning the national championship last year without Daniel Dickinson, without Anthony Ianson, without Paul Skeens in 23, and without Tommy White in 23, and the list goes on and on. Like, that's just the new age of the game. Like, there are going to be program-changing players out there. You might be one player away, and you can't get that player maybe from high school, or that player's not going to be ready to do that in his redshirt freshman or sophomore year. You can go find that player. So I think Jay's going to hone in and do that, continue to do that, but also focus maybe a little more on the development side of stuff. Hey, when he's had more time to twiddle his thumbs and play around with the portal, I mean, look what's happened, right?
Yes.
I mean, 22, they lost in regionals. They go to Omaha the next year. 23 to 24, they lose in Chapel Hill. He has more time because they lose in the regional in Chapel Hill. Brings in a great portal class. They win the Natty in 25. You'd like a little more consistency, I think, across the board, not this, and this. But when Jay has kind of taken it on the chin and had a little bit more time to think about it, his response has been very good. So I think we will see that, but we will also see him bring along some of these younger guys, Ethan Claus, Jack Rucker, William Patrick. He said that the freshman class he brought in last year, John Pearson, William Schmidt, Maverick Rizzi, Kason Evans, so on and so forth, was one of the best class he said that he's brought in perhaps ever, certainly at LSU.
Right.
And he said similar high, value things about the freshman class they have this year. So those two classes back to back with the development they're getting this year, they got last year, and some of the portal players that hopefully you have the bankroll to go get, certainly you'll have the time. You can get them in on the visits quicker and stuff. All of that combination can lead to some big things in 2027. It sounds like, I thought Verge said recently they're going to invest more into baseball and stuff. So hopefully that comes to fruition, and we'll see.
That's all we can do. Let's kind of pivot to basketball for a second, and then we'll kind of get you out of here. I know you want to enjoy the rest of your night off, and I want you to enjoy that too.
Man,
You get it.
I'm just going to read this book about Billy Cannon I've been reading, and I'm going to go to bed. That's all we got on the agenda.
So what is Will Wade going to break now in college basketball? Because you know he's going to try to do it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know a ton on the basketball side. I know people that are more in the know than myself, and it seems like there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we're starting to see some of those fireworks pop. I know everybody's kind of concerned about, they only have one scholarship player, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
They're going to have a team. They're going to have a team.
Breaking news, you need a team to play basketball.
Yes. The portal's closed. That doesn't mean you can't go and get players from the portal at this point. That just means you can't hop in anymore. So they're working hard behind the scenes. They're attending, AAU games, high school stuff, whatever it is, to build out this roster. And obviously, how important it is to the athletic department and how much resources they're devoting to it. So things are getting done. It's just maybe going a little bit slower than people thought it would. But he's also had to hire a staff at the same time, right? Like they were just recently continuing to finalize those hirings they were making and stuff. So people that are well connected to the program and people that support the program seem to have a quiet confidence about where this is headed. So just be patient.
Good. Just to go back, Carl Dunn says LSU can now go in and play loose. And I think, honestly, going back to baseball, I think that's a really good point. They backs against the wall. They have nothing to lose. There's no pressure. Expectations are gone. These young guys can go in and just play.
Yeah.
Do you think we can kind of see a different temperament from this team in Starkville this weekend?
Yeah, maybe. Obviously, this team is not better without Jake Brown.
Obviously.
And without Cooper Moore. But it seemed like, at least on Tuesday, and granted it was UNO, not a great team, it seemed like the guys that were out there kind of rallied behind that, and they're kind of getting this second surge of like, hey, I mean, Jake still wants to travel with the team, be with the team. Cooper is still very high energy in the dugout. Like, these guys enjoy being around each other, and it's a good collection that they got here. And the season hasn't gone how they wanted, that's for sure, but it's still salvageable. It really is. If they can make some things happen here down the stretch, they can find their way into the tournament. And I asked Jay this on Tuesday. Ole Miss in 2022 was the last team in. They found themselves. I'm not saying this is going to happen.
Right.
But
it's the same way. I can't say it's over.
It's possible. They ran into a really good A&M team this week. And like, that team, I think, is certainly a national title contender. Their pitching might prevent them from winning it, but I think that they're going to make some noise in the postseason for sure. And they just got straight up beat 3 games in a row. And I thought that we would see a big response. I mean, if there was ever a time for it, it was going to be on that Saturday or even the Sunday. Didn't see it. But maybe we see it this weekend against a very good Mississippi State team. But, I mean, you got Jack Ruckert out there and William Patrick out there. Those guys, I mean, they've never experienced this before. You know what I mean? So they don't know the good from the bad. They're just going out there and playing. And all they know is what Jay Johnson has taught them. And they're out there to execute a game plan. They're not worried about their draft stock or how many home runs they hit or what people are saying online. They're just going out there and playing. And I think that can be a positive thing in some ways, And I thought they both played really well against UNO on Tuesday. It's for some of these other guys, like, their college careers are winding down. Like, this is it for Chris Stanfield and for Zach York and for, I believe, Trent Caraway. Like, some of these guys, it's almost up for college at least. And so I think they're starting to kind of realize that. And so, I mean, this is it. You can't go to Starkville and get swept. You at least got to come back with one. So we'll see. I was scouting Mississippi State, similar to A&M. I mean, they're a very complete team, a good pitching staff. They field the ball well. They got 6 guys in their starting lineup that hit 300 or better. And it's on the road. And that's been an issue for this team too. So I don't know, but you never know. I mean, they also got swept at home back-to-back weekends. Mississippi State did, so things happen.
Sounds like what LSU should be, but life be lifing.
Yeah.
Fawn says in the chat, kind of similar to what we were just talking about. He thinks that plus the last year or so of freshmen getting playing time quick and trusting them, I think he will start to really trust the incoming freshmen and pick up spots from the portal, and that those transfers might be mainly pitchers, which I kind of agree with that. But the bullpen, like you said earlier, is really coming along. And you're gonna get back Cooper Moore, you're getting back Case and Evans, and you're getting back William Schmidt. Where are you gonna add arms at?
I mean, there's a line for the starting rotation. It's going to be Evans, Schmidt, Moore. Marcos Paz would like a word. Yep. Reagan Ricken would like to get in on that discussion. I mean, there's a lot of talent back there.
Devin Sheeran.
He's draft eligible. I don't know if he'll be back or not. He's had a great year. So we'll see on that one. But even like Maverick Rizzi, I don't think that he's going to go. I think he has a little bit more development he would like to do. Cooper Williams. They're going to have a lot now. Just because they're coming back doesn't mean they're going to be better.
Right.
But if they can use some of the highs and the lows from this year, like Evans and Schmidt have a whole season of starting experience wire to wire. Like you can't put a price tag on that, what that could do for them next year, So I was kind of getting excited the other day, just kind of thinking about the framework of next year's team. And like, perhaps they get a guy back they don't expect, and then, I mean, watch out. But obviously trying to squeeze everything out of this year we possibly still can. And, it's still there. The light is dim, but it's still on.
It's still on. There's an ember.
Yeah. The betting odds, I don't know why, but LSU is still like one of the top betting odd teams to win the national championship in baseball.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. A real chance, according to Vegas, like they're in the top 10.
I mean, even Vegas knows it's hard to bet against LSU.
Yeah, you just never know.
You just don't want to.
Maybe this weekend's the start of it. I wouldn't forecast that personally, but would love to see it.
Right, absolutely. Like Carl Dunn says in the chat, please give a like and subscribe. And thank y'all for all the support. We're gonna get John out of here. John, I'm gonna be please once the stream ends, don't go too far. I want to holler at you for a second.
Sure.
This will not be John's last time on here. Because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot going on around Baton Rouge and a lot of great things going on around LSU. And I want to talk, next time just overall about John and his career and what got him in the media to begin with. So thank you all for being here tonight. Definitely appreciate all the things that you guys have been able to do, the support, the community, the chat. Thank y'all for the support. I love it. And John, once again, thank you so much for all the work that you do in and around Baton Rouge. The high school football coverage, which is something that I got to get to you on, that you guys do over at WAFB is absolutely amazing. And I do want to tap into that resource with you guys for this upcoming high school football season, because there are some teams I feel like in New Orleans that we want to get a little bit more of a light on, So yeah. I definitely want to reach out, see what we can do on that front. So definitely going to be in contact with that. Let's get John out of here so he can read his book and get some rest. I love y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all have a